Yep, that's the thing. She likes that last part. That ee. They're ready to go, and it's time for another episode of Comic Book Spectrum.
Yeah.
I wonder if you have noticed something different.
About our logo?
No,
Where you're shooting. Because it looks like the
no,
same
not where
thing.
it's not where I'm shooting. It's more along the lines of the device that I'm using here.
You got a new computer or a new camera?
No, not a no new camera. You remember what happened last time?
Okay, I'm gonna have to sick you on him because he will
No, you
not
remember what
let me
happened
like it.
last time when the laptop went belly up.
Yeah, so you got a new laptop.
No, I did not get a new laptop.
You
It
replaced
went
the
belly up again.
holy
Remember, I had
crap.
to buy a replacement hard drive, so now I'm on the new hard drive, the new internal hard drive that I bought here.
So it's the same laptop, you just replaced the hard drive.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I would have loved to have just replaced Squishy's internal hard drives.
Hmm.
But because it's a laptop, Charles is good with desktop computers, big
Hmm.
chassis and stuff, but laptops
Hmm.
he has no experience on. So I don't, I don't know how to fix Squishy to update him. It would be nice if I could because to have that as a backup. Only problem is I would then have to start paying Clip Studio Paint for two computers
Instead of just a one.
instead of just the one because, but I liked it was a lot easier to work directly on Squishy.
Well, the good thing about this here with the new drive,
Mhm.
instead of going through all of the headache and trouble of trying to figure out why my other image didn't work and all this other stuff. I just went update everything to 11, and I'm now building my image in 11 to store. That way, if something does happen, I can always re-image back to having my
T-
stuff on the laptop without having to do the reinstall of everything again for like the fourth or fifth time.
I my this computer is not set for 11, but it will be at least a good year before I can think about trying to find because this is a custom built chassis
Mm-hmm.
and the 11 computers, the motherboards are different than than the motherboard I have in my chassis.
Mm-hmm.
And they have made them and it's really cute how they did it. They have made them so if you've got like a custom rig like mine,
Mm-hmm.
the motherboards that'll take 11 and whatnot won't fit your chassis if it's more than a year old.
Oh,
And Frankenstein's a few years old now. So in order to upgrade to 11, I would literally have to get a whole new chassis. And that means not just getting a new chassis, but because it's the size is different, then the heat sink and all of that stuff has to be upgraded as well. It won't take all the old innards from Frankenstein.
so okay. Now I'm beginning to understand. 'Cause I was like, if it's just a chassis thing, why not just buy another case with a bigger chassis? Then you said, yeah. Now you get into like heat sink and all the other stuff. It's like actual space inside. It's like, yeah, that might make a difference.
Yeah, it just, you know, finding, because he's a big boy. I hold on. You guys are coming with me. Let's see if I can get you over here. Okay. I don't know if you can see him.
Frankenstein looks more like a cabinet than a computer.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
That looks like a
The
cabinet, but
newer ones are much they're towers, they're
mhm,
slimmer, they're taller. He's short and squat. So,
old
like I
school.
said,
He's
yeah,
like
Charles,
old school ATX. It's almost like
because
old school. Go ahead.
this was what we could afford when it was time to build me a desktop. We had to go with what we could afford, and getting a tower and then building everything from scratch. That's not cheap. Especially in the last year, because you know prices have kind of skyrocketed, even if you're just building it from
Hmm.
scratch yourself, as opposed to going. And I'm I will probably, my next one will probably have to be a tower that I'll have to have built for me, because I don't, and I'm trying to limit stuff I have with AI. Rudimentary AI is one thing, but and study they just put out, I'm surprised they didn't make more news of it, but a study came out just a couple of weeks ago that while all these AI proponents, chat GPT and stuff, oh, it's supposed to make you 20% more efficient, it's
It also,
actually increased people's workload, because the AI makes so many mistakes that you're not only fixing your mistakes, you're then having to go back and fix the AI's mistakes. So people are either 10 to 25% more busier with the AI than if they were not. And it's like, okay, once I get my new build, I want to see if I can, make it a Windows 11, but see if I can limit um, the AI stuff in there. And I probably, because it's a software issue, so I probably won't be able to.
again, you don't have to use any of the AI stuff as a whole here, but that just, it is what it is. I mean,
Everybody
it's like I heard.
is shoving it at me though. Adobe is sending me emails. Oh, get to use it. We have these, and it's like, I don't need your AI features. I just need to be able to turn. I need to be able to pull down PDFs when I'm doing my taxes or filling out my forms and stuff with the state and the feds. I just need to pull down PDFs that I can input all my information, make it make sense, and then upload it and have them accept it because it's the correct type of PDF. Or I'm doing a book manuscript or something. I don't need you to throw AI at me that's going to get in my way more than it's going to help. But that's just me.
No, that's just across the board. It's something that I was telling Rhonda the other day, that technically AI is going to make people dumber. And the reason being is because people are not going to study technique. They're just going to rely on the tool itself.
That, and it also makes them greedier,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of people putting out. I see the ads all the time for people. I'm making all this money on Amazon KDP, and I don't even write the books. And it's like, in other words, they're putting out, and it's greed. It's people creating these classes that's supposed to teach you how to write a book using AI. You come up with an idea and a cover, and you type a few things into the AI program, and then you let it spit out a book. The only problem with that is, from what I'm hearing
Hmm.
from customers, is the books are total crap.
Hmm.
So you're making these Kindle books. The only problem is, once you get a Kindle book that you don't like, you can't take it back and get a refund. So yeah, you've sold the book, but then people are reading it going, oh my God, that book is crap. Will not read from this author again,
Again, is that.
because this was crap.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, you're making a little money up front, but in the end, you actually are causing more harm, because those of us who sit down and they're sitting there working out how to, what angle to approach this book from, how to handle your descriptions, and how, is it going to be spicy? Is it not going to be spicy? What's the language? You're sitting there building, you're taking the world that you're building in your head and you're trying to translate it onto paper in a way that other people will get it. And it's like AI can't do a lot of that. I always crack up. I've gotten to the point where I'm really finding out who's using AI to write their posts,
Hmm.
because the mistakes that the program makes, and I've used Grammarly. I will admit I have used Grammarly, but Grammarly, I don't use Grammarly any more than, hey, you misspelled that, or you described this way. Did you mean that way? It's like, no, baby, I meant it this way. Shut up. You
Yeah. That's
know?
like it's like you're being passive here. Don't you want to be active? No. Stuff like that.
And it's funny because I keep forgetting. It was only, people forget, we used to have an AI assistant. If you had a Windows computer and you used
That paperclip.
Word, you had the paperclip, and the paperclip would, it was an AI assistant. It would pop up and say, "Hey, I've noticed you've spelled this word this way. It means this way if you spell it this way, or that's not the correct spelling, or are you sure you want to use that phrase?" So, and people got tired of it because people, they got rid of it because people felt it was a little too intrusive. It ruined their flow. And it's interesting how this current generation is like, write it for me, chat GPT, or here, I want this type of picture, make the picture for me. It's like, it's one thing of, I'm trying to find body positions. So I will go into Clip Studio Paint and pull up a dial. I need, this type of body, and then position it, but I still have to, you can't put the dial and say, there's the picture. Now that I've got the position, I can draw over it, but I can't use that dial and say, that's the picture. You can draw over it and add all your stuff, and then and then that layer goes away now that you've done with it. You can
That's
save it if you want next time, and customize it for a particular character, so that you've at least got the basics for it. But it's not like I can pull up that dial and say, here's my character fully formed. It's like, no, I can, I can say, okay, I want her to be this tall, this slim, or whatnot, and work that out. But I still have to do the actual drawing. It's just a visualize. It just helps me with the visualization. I still have to sit there and draw it out, whether I do it on paper or I do it on the computer. It doesn't do it for me.
see now you realize all the work that I put behind primetime Saturday night, where everybody's up here. It's like, well, you're using 3D rendering. You're kind of cheating. You're not drawing this, that. And it's like, look, when you work in a 3D environment, it's hard because, like, oh yeah, they're in the ring, but are they touching the mat? Are they floating above it? Are they sinking into it? You know, working in 3 dimensions is not easy. Designing
I
stuff is, but actually,
The actually doing it. I learned that because if you get the Lord of the Rings, get the extended
mhm,
version. If you ever get those movies, get the extended version. The reason I tell people, especially those of us in the creative end, to get the extended, because guess what they give you in the extended? They show you behind the scenes stuff, and they showed early renderings of Gollum, and suddenly, his hand is, he's got like one, he had like spiked hair. Gollum doesn't have any hair, but he had like spikes, and his eye. What, I want to go back here. It's not easy to get that fit. Even, yeah, you can create that 3D model, but you still have to render it. You still have to sit there and paint and work it out and handle the lighting and stuff. And it's
mhm.
like, okay, I've got the lighting blocked out, but this is his skin texture. Now I got to sit there and put that, get that, and do that skin texture. Oh, he's gonna shift 5 degrees. Dang it! I gotta redo the whole thing now for that 5 degree shift. You know?
That was one of the things that I had to learn because it's like a lighting in a photograph is completely different than lighting in a 3D environment. And if you try
Yes.
to cross the two together to render on top of an image,
Oh,
you have to
it,
take in consideration of the lighting that it is, or else it comes out like it's a backdrop. You want everything to be seamless and stuff to that magnitude, and people don't get that. People don't understand why 3D rendering is not the same as what they're doing with these AI tools. These AI tools is just take, and I hate to say it, it's taking other people's art, picking and choosing it, manipulating it, and spitting out
but what people
not the
aren't,
most accurate stuff, but it's close enough where it will fool most people.
maybe I'm getting to where it's a lot harder to fool me because like I like to see some of the video content that people put on Facebook, and I quit watching it because I keep forgetting who that person is so I can block them. They put up this video of, one thing it was like Keanu Reeves and certain actors as angels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and luckily now they put on there, this is AI. So you know that they didn't do the rendering and stuff. But half the time things will not work out. Somebody put up a thing of that was supposed to be Tom Hiddleston walking, except I know his face well enough to where it shifted a bit and suddenly it was not his face. And it's like, okay, thank you. It's AI. You've lost me. Bye. I just gave it a thumbs down and I give it an angry and just said, okay, I'm going on to something
Well,
else.
in this generation of deep faking people, it's just it is what it is. It's like everything is not in sync. People are very very stiff. It's not natural looking.
It's not natural looking, or in some cases when they do the, like I said, I've seen a couple of these celebrities as particular angels and they're walking and stuff. I see it especially for females. They'll take like footage of a supermodel on the runway and they'll just put her, they'll do the whatever the costume is and her face on it. And it's like, I have seen that person move enough that I know that's not them,
Mm-hmm.
and I get it. It's like for me because I've had that training where I sit there and I'll go, oh, that looks good, but oh no, baby, I know that's a lot back. I'm just like, no, I don't have time. I just don't have the energy to waste that much of my life on looking at your BS, especially since you're not even taking the time to admit
That it is BS. That
that
is
it's BS. You're trying to pull it off like you did some serious work. And I'm sitting here going, okay, somebody needs to slap your mama. Uh, 'cause she didn't raise you right. Um, but luckily, because people are finding enough mistakes and stuff. Word is people who were hiring people to do AI for their magazines and stuff where they wanted illustrations,
mm-hmm.
and people go, oh, I can do that illustration, and it was like, this is AI. This is not what we asked for. We asked for an actual illustration, and not somebody with 30 toes and three
Right.
noses. That enough because enough, I guess enough serious readers are coming back and going, that was totally crap. Why didn't you just go ask artists whatever?
Yeah.
Because the card companies, I know Magic, the guys who do Magic the Gathering and stuff, yeah, Wiley Beckett and Trent Manuga and those guys are not cheap, but their stuff is real and it's good. It's not, I have seen some really nice stuff, looking stuff that AI has done, but it's so plastic that it has no, it's one of those things you sit there, you look at it and it's like, okay, yeah, that was pretty. Bye. you know I'm going, let me see something real. Let me see something somebody has put in the time and actually thought it up in their head, and then, thought it in their head, cooked it in their heart, and put it out with their hands. Show me something where someone has done. Or I was taking a short course earlier today in Rebel, where a guy was showing how to recreate pastiche painting using Rebel, and I was watching because it's like, oh, you know what? I have some of those. I have Painter Essentials 7.
Hmm.
It's either 7 or 8, I can't remember. Um, but I have some of that paper texture, and I have some of those brushes. I could probably do something similar using that, but it'll be my creation. Yes, it's rudimentary AI creating. If I pick this brush and I'm doing this color, it will recreate that brush stroke according to how it's programmed, but it's not going to paint the picture.
Right. Well, like I said, it's a difference between the tools that you use and the final creation. Because if the tool does the creating, you really didn't do nothing. But if
Yeah,
you use the tool and the tool you're doing the brush strokes, you're doing everything that you're supposed to do to really create it in such a way to make it into a masterpiece. That's your work.
yeah.
But before we go even deeper down that rabbit hole, you remember what our theme is for today?
Yes, is that 3, 2, 1 contact?
Yes, it is that. It is that time here.
I saw the word contact and it's like, ooh, it's my 3, 2, 1 contact stuff.
Yep, yep, it is. That is that time again here where we're going to talk about how we were back in the day dealing with public television, and we're about to see part of an episode of 321 Contact. This is the science based children's television network from PBS here.
Yes, as opposed to math.
One, yeah, it was very rare back then because remember, it's like this is like 1980.
Yeah,
So,
it's,
back in the day, there wasn't too many science based TV programs for kids out there.
that weren't on PBS.
Hmm.
Did you know that the thrill in almost every circus act comes from defying the force of gravity for a few split seconds?
I
What if
bet
gravity
that's.
pulled you up or sideways instead of down? You can't escape gravity, not even when you go out of this world.
And that is true.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Contact is the secret, it's the moment when everything happens. Contact is the
Disco.
it's the reason why everything happens. Contact, let's make contact. 3, 2, 1. Contact.
So, like, they normally have like episodes that feature around a singular theme, but the theme is done in so many different ways.
Oh no. Oh, great.
This is Force Field. Hurricane Rufus is really laying it on us today. And it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Thanks a lot, Force.
Just remember, behind every cloud, there's a silver lining.
Shut it up.
I forgot what these balls were called,
Oh, jeez, yeah.
but this is illustrating.
Today we're talking about gravity, and have I got
There
news
she
for you?
is.
Gravity does not discriminate against
Rita
anybody
Moreno.
or
Yep.
anything. We all fall together.
Ever dream of joining the circus?
Well, they didn't do the
Louisiana,
actual
that dream comes true every
experiment
summer.
with the boulder and the feather and why they both fall at the same time,
Uh-huh.
same rate of speed at the same time.
How old
Well, but they, think about what they were, you're trying to get it
Now, how do I do
shot,
this?
Hmm.
and you're trying to do it in a point that
Wait, can you slow down? And
younger
show?
children are going to get.
Right.
Your feet on the mat, spread apart on the mat.
Like
next,
that?
Next is go up in the air and
Bring them
put your feet together. Just do it all at the same time.
at the same. So first, feet apart.
He's so
And
cute.
then up in the air, feet together.
Hmm.
What are you doing with your arms?
You try to put your arms and feet together.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Like that?
Yeah, that's it.
Is that good?
You got to have a lot of stamina.
Thanks a lot.
For trampolines, yes.
Yeah, because that,
I always wondered why you bounce so easily on the trampoline. I learned your body causes a downward force that stretches out the trampoline spring. The springs send all that energy back to the spot where you jumped. The harder you jump, the higher you bounce.
I did not realize as a kid that these people
Gravity's
had
part of almost
intense
every
diets
exercise.
because
Up here,
you
the real
burn
trick is
so
not
many calories
too
on these
soon.
performances,
It's a
just the
long way up,
training
but
alone.
you come down fast. What trick is Linda gonna do?
She's gonna do a flange.
What's that?
She's gonna arch over the bar upside down on her back swing.
Why did she call out what she was gonna do like that?
Because so that the catcher will know what's coming.
Oh. How does she know when to fly out?
When he calls up, she goes.
On the trapeze, your body's like a pendulum in a clock. At the bottom of your swing, you're going the fastest and feeling the greatest pull on your arms.
And she missed.
She missed it. Oh. The
I
trapeze
kind of
is a
like
shot
that she didn't do it
exactly
perfect.
the opposite of
Mhm.
the tempo. Instead
This
of
is a
Because
show for
it shows how hard it really is. This is not easy.
And as a child, it's important that you see that because, you know, especially for our generations of kids growing up, adults would, there was this sort of push towards perfection.
Hmm.
And people wouldn't explain it. You're not going to get it right the first time. You may not get it right the 10th, the 20th. It may take you 100 tries before you get this right. And that's what I liked about shows like this is kids could see these people who are doing these really amazing things, but
And now
also
that time she got it,
she
but they
got it, but they would
but they
realize,
took it at a
okay,
bad
it takes
angle.
practice.
Yeah,
It
it
takes practice. You're not going to get it that first time.
Mhm.
So that kids don't go into, sometimes kids go into things expecting once they're told how it's done, you can get it, because so much expectation.
like this here is actually really hard too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's none of this is easy.
Okay, Brian's gonna jump.
I'll have to stand on here?
You have to stand, feet together,
Uh-huh.
keep your legs straight.
And I'll land on that?
Yeah.
Now how is he gonna know when to jump?
When you slap,
Oh, I have to slap. Don't jump yet. I have to slap like this and here.
when you're ready, you slap, and go.
Are you sure I'll be okay?
Yeah.
I love this so kids can understand. Okay, even adults can be nervous. Even older people can be nervous.
Right. And yeah, see, that takes practice to go backwards like that.
What do you need the pole for?
Just, it helps you balance easier.
Oh.
Now they're about to talk about tightrope. That pole is not light; it's heavy.
Yeah, it can't be light.
Oh,
Mhm.
It has to be heavy. It's got to go against the weight
It
of.
helps keep your balance, and it's like when you bend down and you're free walking, it makes your weight closer to the wire.
Is that why you're holding it lower?
Mhm.
Low like that? So it's kind of like almost as if you're bringing your weight closer to the wire?
Yeah.
Okay, now tell me, what happens if you don't have the pole down that low?
Okay. So if you put the pole up here, it makes your it's harder to balance. The pole goes all over the place. But when you have it lower, it makes your body weight closer to the wire.
That's really good. It's not heavy for you. How much does it weigh? 15 pounds. How much do you weigh?
75.
And you can lift that easily? Well, you did.
Well, you get used to it.
Can you do any tricks with the pole?
Mhm.
Can you do some now?
Yeah.
So that pole is about a fifth of her body weight.
Mm-hmm. And Reese is about a fifth of the body weight because it helps her keep the center of gravity. Because she holds it low, and because she holds it low, it lowers her center of gravity for her whole body. Like I
Makes it
said,
easier to
putting the
balance.
weight back onto the wire itself.
Yes.
Big top. But for a few, this may be the stepping off point to the greatest show on earth.
I just remember being a kid going to Ringling Brothers Circus, and even on Bozuk's, because they would have those little, they would have the high wire racks.
Mm-hmm.
And you would see it and think, oh my God, it's so wonderful, and they never make a mistake. And then you see a show like this, and you understand, no, it takes work, it takes dedication. You have to keep at it. You know. And most importantly, it helps kids understand you're not going to get it the first time. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how you learn. That's how you improve.
You guys forgot the poles.
I didn't forget.
What are they for?
For balancing. Supposed to put them in his arms. And then you'll just stay up?
Yep.
That's yours?
Yep.
Yes,
There
check
you
it
go.
out. Okay.
There used to be a game, a tightrope. Remember the game
Mm-hmm.
tightrope?
Yep.
Take that string. And you take that side. Ready? Now hold it real tight, okay?
Oh goodness, they're gonna recreate the tightrope game.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
For his next trick. Here we go.
Yeah. And the moral of that story is never go riding on a rope without your balancing pole.
Right.
Whoa.
And there goes the lights again in the middle of the rain.
I haven't thought of tightrope in ages.
And nobody's going out in this wind with or without poles.
This is Force Field. Can you hear me? I'm trying to stand just outside the Weather Bureau. I don't dare let go of the doorknob. I can tell you the force of gravity combined with the force of Rufus's wind can really topple you over.
I forgot what this was going to be. Yeah, the domino.
Oh, the dominoes. Okay.
Domino spectacular. 100,000 dominoes falling in precise formation.
Sesame Street had a great great short with dominoes.
Yep.
I used to love to see these things.
And this is not easy to do either.
Oh no, I never. Once I learned because you have to plan it out. You have to have an understanding of how these things are going to fall, and everything, and you have to line them up in a specific way to get that. And I was like, you know what? I just want to observe it. Don't want to have to do it. Just want to watch.
An amazing feat that earned its arranger, Bob Specker Jr., a place in the Guinness Book of Records.
Yep, most dominoes topple in one time.
Yeah.
Seem strong or weak. If you were on the moon, the barbell would weigh only 1/6 as much as on Earth. You could lift things easier and throw things much further. However, if we lived on Jupiter, things would weigh 3 times as much as on Earth. Barbells would be harder to lift, and we couldn't throw things very far.
You couldn't even walk very
However,
I
far.
was about to say
turn to normal.
you'd have to have a specialized suit
What if gravity
to
pulled you
be on some sort of heavy
or
gravity world.
sideways instead of down?
Sometimes the moon's gravity does pull things up on the Earth. It's too far away to pull anything off, but it makes the water bulge. That's what we call the tides.
Yeah,
The Bay
that's
of
what they
Fundy
mean
in
by
Florida is one of the
sideways.
highest tides in the
Yeah.
world. Some places along this inlet, the water rises more than 50 feet from low tide to high tide.
I
This is
love
low
these
tide.
shows because they got kids to
Fortunately for
think,
me, otherwise I would probably be drowning
you know.
or
It's
swimming.
not the same type of thinking like you had within like Electric Company or Sesame Street. This is a lot deeper.
This is more critical thinking.
Hmm.
And it's, and the thing is, what I loved about these particular
You can see
shows,
how the tides rise every 12 hours.
kids who might not have otherwise realized they had a knack for math or
I asked Dr.
science
David Scarrett, a marine biologist, why the Bay of Fundy
wouldn't
is
have
so
known that if it wasn't for these shows,
Hmm.
Through all these
because of the way math and science is
something like
usually
a cubic
taught
mile of
at
water.
certain grade levels.
Imagine 100
It's
baseballs
boring as hell.
part of a half a
Hmm.
mile
And
depth,
this
but
is,
and it's all driven by the
this
tide as
gives
the
those
tide rises
kids
in the Bay of
who
Fundy.
might
And this
otherwise
water
think,
is
oh,
known
it's too
where it
hard to
goes down
understand,
into
it's too
the
difficult,
bay.
it's,
Well, to get there,
I can't, can
little
sit here
narrow
and go,
channels.
oh,
All of these little
that
narrow
made
channels.
sense, okay.
The chart, which you
Yeah.
can see here, through all of these islands, and right now where we're standing, there's a ridge, a sill, and there's about 100 feet of water behind us, and right where we are now, there's about 300 feet, and this water is just coming and falling over here, and it's just like water going down the bath, with that little, look at it right down here now.
A little bit of a whirlpool.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, how come the water rises and falls like that? How come sometimes we have high tides and sometimes we have low tides?
Well, it's caused by the gravity of the sun and the moon, and they pull on the earth. They pull on the whole earth at the same time, but it's the water that moves the most.
How often does the tide get high and then get low?
Well, we have high tide twice a day and low tide twice a day, so the tide comes in and goes out every 12 hours.
This is Force Field, your weatherman. Hello to all you lucky people who are warm and dry. There's a lot of splashing out here. Tides are running 10 to 20 feet higher than normal.
I thought you said it was the moon's gravity that made high tides.
It does.
But he just said it was the hurricane that was making the high tides.
Well, maybe there's something about the hurricane on TV.
Hurricanes don't cause tides, but the wind pushes water onto
Ironic.
a lot of water. This makes
Just
it
at that moment.
be normally. Seen from a satellite, a hurricane covers hundreds of square miles and releases many times more energy in 1 second than an atomic bomb.
Which really gets around, doesn't he?
Are hurricanes the same as typhoons? Yep. They call them typhoons in the Pacific.
Hurricanes are nature's best heat transporters, and they're one of the most powerful forces in nature. In 1900, a hurricane that hit Galveston, Texas, had enough energy to drive all the world's power plants for 2 years.
Man, if we could harness all that force, we might not have an energy crisis.
That is true.
Yeah.
As a hurricane passes over land, it loses force.
Yeah, he's losing it on us.
We can expect Rufus's force to weaken over the next 12 hours. Mine is weakening already.
Hey, what about something like gravity? Does that ever weaken? Nope. In fact, it's gravity that keeps a spacecraft and even the moon in orbit.
Well, what would happen if there were no gravity at all?
Are you kidding? Things would just go sailing off into space forever. Oh, wow.
Go on, baby.
A rocket acts like a slingshot, flinging the spacecraft high above the Earth. Then the rocket engine shuts off, and the spacecraft begins falling around the Earth. This path is the orbit.
Well, if they're falling, why don't they crash on Earth?
They keep missing it because, well, they're also moving sideways around the Earth.
You mean orbiting is really falling?
You got it.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird. Oh no, we don't want commercials.
Sorry. It's
No, it's
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah.
It's YouTube.
See, that's the part. They making aerodynamics simplified now. They're simplifying aerodynamics.
That's what I call.
But for kids, this is important because things that they would look at and go, that's so complex. I could never do that.
Floating.
Especially if you think about poor kids in
Everything in it.
economically challenged areas can see this and go, I can understand that.
Mhm.
And will maybe take an interest. You know, that was part of the point of this is a way to reach as many kids as possible. Especially by the time my boys were kids, you know, PBS became more of a normal part of most kids.
Mm-hmm. And he's trying to take a drink of water now.
It's not.
And they're doing push-ups, and it's like that's how they build resistance.
Yeah.
It wouldn't register any
They'll
weight.
do it at the top.
Yeah.
It's so precarious on there.
Off in any direction?
Right.
Someone's having so much.
So it's like what they're showing. What they're showing now is the difference between gravity and weightlessness.
Right.
Yes.
They're weightless, but gravity is still there.
Yeah.
Well, looks like Rufus will be long gone by
I
tomorrow.
love that they put a background. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's a background, and in this whole time, they've like you can see water coming down, like it's heavy rain. You know that they put
You can say
effort
this for
into
sure.
it.
They give the atmosphere a good cleaning.
It's like when Square One and they got that Mercedes-Benz limousine.
Right.
So long.
You know that they put that effort into it.
No, we don't have time for this. We talked about this last week. So that tells me we're getting towards the end of 3-2-1 contact because they normally come in at the tail end.
Around the end.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's what 3-2-1 contact really was. And for those who missed last week, we talked about the Bloodhound game. That's the reason why we're not watching it this week. We already talked about that as a whole here.
I will bring in something next week. Hopefully that'll give us all a smile. But I want to give my update on this week's episode of Alien Earth, if that's okay.
Yep, you get to go ahead and do so. And I do have another television show to talk about after this to wrap everything up in a nice little bowl.
Alien Earth, you died. Sorry, couldn't help that. This week's episode did not disappoint because whoever the guys doing this are Holly is his name and his partner. They've watched shows like The Strain and other shows where they're realizing, yes, the big bad evil monster is necessary, but it's not just about in other words, the villainy isn't just the monster itself. You know, the alien, if you think about it, the alien itself is neither good nor evil. It just does what it does. And if you just happen to, unfortunately, you know, be where it is, it's going to do what it does to you. That's just, you know, but this week's episode, and I'm talking as someone who, considering if you see the second Aliens, if you see Aliens, when Ripley has come back and she's on the space station, there's no mention of a xenomorph on the planet or any of the other creatures. And they kind of laid the groundwork for those of us who know the canon in the movies. And yes, the first AVP is now canon. Okay, it is now canon. For those of you who are wondering, the second AVP, that was, we're just going to say that was a fever dream. But the first one is indeed canon, because it introduces us to the first Wayland. Prometheus introduces us to the Wayland family, his descendants. But anyway, it's, even though I know how this movie is going to end in a general sense, um, I'm still enjoying the journey. Sometimes it's, there's a great, the second Mummy film, there's that thing about, it's the journey that matters. And in this case, it definitely is the journey, because as I said before, prior, these are children that have been put into synthetic, adult synthetic bodies. But in their minds, they're still between the age of 10 and 12. And as a result, there are those who are manipulating individuals for their own gain. The Moro, who is the cyborg who works for Wayland Yutani, wants to get those creatures back. And he's now sort of he's putting influence and pressure on a child to get what he wants, which is he wants one of these creatures. Um, and you find out that there is no, there, he will stoop to whatever level he thinks he needs to in order to achieve his objective, which, as someone who has seen everything up to, I have seen Covenant. I have not watched Romulus. Um, at least not all the way through. Um, but it makes me appreciate the Bishop model, where Bishop, says, I because of my program, I cannot harm or allow I can't harm a human. I also can't allow a human to be harmed.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that is later, and you're seeing behavior by these beings. Moro, who works for Wayland Yutani and is a cyborg, and Gersh, who is played by Timothy Oliphant, who is an actual android or synthetic,
Mm-hmm.
who works for the kid they call Cavalier, who owns Prodigy. Um, and it's interesting watching Oliphant and the guy who portrays Moro. It's interesting watching their performances and watching what they will and will not do. Um, the the young boy that Moro has gone, because he's doing it. I thought you said we were friends. And he's like, well, we are. He goes, well, friends tell each other their names. The kids were all given, this Cavalier guy, when he had the kids transferred into these bodies, they were no longer allowed to use the names they were born with. They were given names, and he picked names from them from Peter Pan. So they've all been named for various lost boys,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're boys or girls. This show has shown several of the kids deciding that I actually would like to give myself a day. The boy who helps Gersh with his studying the aliens, he says, I would like to give myself another name. And Gersh is like, well, he goes, yeah. He's like, I'm learning, working with you. I am increasing my knowledge. I'm maturing. I'm learning, and I think I've reached a stage where I would like to name myself. And Gersh says, well, that's okay. That's cool. Um, this poor boy, though, that Moro is, he gets this boy to tell him his real name.
Hmm.
And when the boy calls, because he's told the boy, just get me an egg, bring me an egg. All you have to do is get an egg to this place and I'll come get it. Because the eggs aren't reactive to anything that isn't organic. And it has to be specific organic matter. It has to be something big enough to implant the creature in.
Okay.
So, it's not going to, like, butterflies in the sky are not going to be touched, which should make, LeVar Burton happy.
Right. But again, it's like when you think about it, it's like, I can understand it would not go after the androids, but with the synthetics, like with the kids, as long as none of their original makeup is in that synthetic body, they're okay.
Their consciousness has been downloaded, but there is nothing organic
Hmm.
in these bodies. Um, but because this boy, he has tricked this boy, and I love the way Sintel of Sintel reacts, um, describes Mora. He's just, yeah, he's definitely that dude in the van telling kids I got candy. You know, definitely. I love the way Sintel put it. It's like, yeah, he's that dude in a van going, you want some candy or you want to pet my puppy? It's like, yeah, I need to put your puppy out to pasture. But once he gets, because he realizes as he's talking to the boy that he's like, the boy's he's trying to tell him, I do not want to, and he says, I don't want to put my friends in danger. I will not put my friends in danger on this. And he's like, and this thing can't be out because, Mr. Cavalier and them are organic,
Hmm.
you know, and these eggs react to organics. We saw that with the last episode when Gersh watched Cavalier get just close enough for the egg to start opening and realize, okay, if I don't get him out of here, he's gonna be implanted. Um, and it turns out Gersh has been listening to the conversation. He's found the frequency that this guy is using to talk to this kid, and he's listening. He's not, and you realize the three laws of robotics are not applying. Those of us who are Asimov fans, this is the point at which the three laws of robotics, they are going against the laws of Asimov's laws of robotics. If you don't know what that is, grab a copy of iRobot. You can go and find it at the library, darling. It's not that hard to do. I shouldn't have to give it all to you. But anyway, Gersh is listening in on the conversation. Even the second conversation, when the kid tells him, because the kid is calm and Gersh has just observed him. Um, the kid is calm because he says, "Well, just go get the egg and because he tells the kid that those eggs were my property. That ship and everything on it, the eggs belong to me. And then you guys stole the eggs from me, and I just want my property back." He puts it in this sort of simplistic way that you figure a child will get. And of course he's like, well, I understand that, but an adult would go, well, here's the thing. The ship crash landed because somebody on your end screwed the pooch, and it crash landed into Earth in a city controlled by Prodigy. Whatever lands on Prodigy's, property, you have to deal with Prodigy. So why don't you have your boss call my boss and duke it out? In the meantime, that's not my job. An adult would know, would get that there's politics and stuff involved, and it's not as simple as just going to get you an egg. Um, but he convinces this boy who goes, who realizes there's always somebody, if not actively in the lab, at least paying attention. So he can't do it. So Morrow, because this kid has told him his name, and he knows all these kids have been buried.
Mm-hmm.
He's put together an idea of how long ago these kids were buried and whatnot. He goes and he finds this kid's mom, and she's there. He can hear the conversation she's having with this guy. He goes, "Yeah, your mom told me your brothers will be home from school any minute." So now he has, because the kid's like, you can't just get up in that lab. You can't just get up in there and get out with an egg. There's just no way. It's being monitored. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I can't help you. So without saying, "I'll kill your family," you
Mm-hmm.
know, he basically implies, "Hey, I know who your family is. I'm sitting right here. Your brothers are due home any minute. I can kill these people if you don't give me what I want." And what he tells them is, "Here's the thing. You don't have to bring me an egg. All you have to do is get a person or organic person to come to the egg. And a creature will come out of that egg and attach themselves to its face, to the person's face. And then after a few days, it'll drop off. And then just bring me that person." Doesn't tell them, "Oh, and then it's gonna implant something in them, and it's gonna, and he asks him because he is a child, and he's like, "Well, won't that hurt the person?" And he goes, "Oh, they'll have a bad couple of days." Doesn't tell him, "Oh, they'll be dead by
That's
the
a
time
telling
this."
the end part after the implantation and the gestation and all the other stuff when it's ready to be birthed. Boom,
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah, it doesn't tell them that. And now this poor child is upset
Mm-hmm.
because he knows he doesn't have much of a choice. Gersh has been listening in. He has not reported this to his higher ups, and he confronts the child at one point, and before the second call,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Well, I would never do anything that would cause any of my friends to get hurt," and he accepts that, but he should have he should have gone to Cavalier and said, "We have a problem." While
Mm-hmm.
this problem is developing, another problem is developing. Um, when they first get on the ship, there are several different new creatures. It's not just a xenomorph. One of the creatures is like an octopus eyeball, and it's like the top of it is like a eyeball with a whole bunch of tentacles. It
Mm-hmm.
ain't pretty. What it does is not pretty. Oof, don't don't hang out with any sheep, is all I'm gonna tell you. One of and unlike the xenomorph's eggs or the ovipositor, this thing reacts to whatever is in its immediate. So it doesn't necessarily need an organic construct. It just needs something. It is highly intelligent. And what it does is it jumps on you, gets on your face, rips out an eyeball, and inserts itself into that socket and then takes over your brain. And that's how it
Whoa.
feeds and learns. Yeah, you have got to watch this. I don't know how to do this. Charles said, I asked Charles if there's some way I could do this so that we could watch it together and whatnot. And he's like, "I don't know how we can work that out without going to jail." So it's like, well, I don't know. They record it and do watch parties, but they all tend to be in the same room or connected anyway. But it would be fun to figure out how we could do that so that we could watch an episode or two, because this is, the girl this thing tries to inhabit, she puts her hands up so it can't get in her face. And two of the other kids come to her help, and they get it off, and they contain it. she's got to be about 10 or so. She gets, now watching it from the outside, you realize this child is suffering from PTSD
Mm-hmm.
because she just got attacked by something she wasn't expecting. And nice body or not, this thing wanted in. It's only because she wasn't synthetic that she was able to hold it off long enough to because we saw what it did to a poor kitty cat, and oh my goodness, this poor sheep. Um, for the other kids to help her out because they are, and this one female doctor has kind of realized, but her ambition is such is as if, um, I saw somebody talking about it earlier. Her ambition is such where we don't know if she's totally understood because they did not psychologically profile these kids before they put them in this program. They just went out, found a bunch of poor kids who were dying, that if they paid the families enough, you know, they could take the families, promise that they were going to try some new technology to see if they could save them, say they didn't do it, give them something they could bury and maybe a few bucks so they won't talk about it, you know, and has gone in this way. This poor child has decided she's pregnant following this attack. And the female doctor, who is kind of like their mother figure, is trying to explain to her. She's like, you're, you know, hey there. Um, you know how this works. And, you know, they have a very simplified discussion of how, you know, babies are made. And she's trying to explain that your body is such where I don't think you can be pregnant. She's like, I'm having a baby. I felt it. And it's like, okay, excuse me, sorry, your insanity, this PTSD, and she won't talk about it. The doctor does ask her about the attack, and she doesn't want to discuss the creature that attacked her, and she doesn't want to discuss her body other than the fact that she thinks she's pregnant. And when the doctor pushes, she gets up and reminds her by getting right in her face in like half a heartbeat that, you know, I'm faster, I'm stronger, I can kill you. She doesn't say those things, but the way she goes, we're not discussing that. It's like, okay. And of course the doctor's like, okay. She calmly gets to her desk, pushes the panic button,
Mm-hmm.
and the guards come in and goes, you know what? I forgot I had a meeting today. They're gonna walk you back to your room. Okay. I guess Lainey sent something
You mean
to
Beanie?
Beanie sent something.
Yeah, I'm
Hey, Green
looking.
Lantern.
Yep, that's Corey Green. That's the colorist that we use for Amazonia from time to time. Whenever
Ah,
Christine is not available, he's the one that does the coloring.
oh, okay. But so we have one of these children thinking they're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
We have another one who, ooh, okay, I am super dog. I does the saving. Today's been so stressful. I did this. Oh, that's heart. That is lovely. I like that. That's really nice. You know, but we're seeing that changes are happening within this little community of kids, and Cavalier, in because he's so focused on what he whether or not he can, you know, isn't thinking about whether or not he should, because he's so on the smartest. And it's like, for a very smart person, he's really stupid because there's so much going on around him that he's not paying attention to. And this today's show was showing how all of these little pieces with these kids. One child is losing her mind. She thinks she's pregnant. If she's not pregnant, but she thinks something's in her body, that means that eyeball thing may have managed to implant something in there And that's going to be unfortunate. We have a child who has, who is being forced into a very horrific position. And a lot of the kids are now angry and jealous because Wendy's brother is there. They
Hmm.
saved him. And, their attitude is like, well, how come her brother gets to be here? And he's not there because he wants to be. He wants to leave. He wants to go back to his unit. But the number two guy at
Number two guy.
Prodigy reminds him that they've given him a new lung. Now, they haven't told him that they took out his old lung that was perfectly working and stuck an alien in it so it could gestate.
Hmm.
They just told him, you've got a new lung. Until you work out what the cost of this lung is, you belong to us. You go when we tell you. You do what we tell you. He's like, well, I can quit. He goes, we'll bill you.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay. And because he's on an island, it's not like he can just disappear into a little city or something. They have the Cavalier kid explain they're on an island in the Pacific where getting off of it would be really hard. The only thing harder to get than getting off this island would be getting onto it without clearance and the right, you know, transport. So they've set the we're set out on this little island, close enough to where we need to get to if we need to, but far enough away where we're we think we're not going to cause a problem. But there are so many different little moving pieces. Kids who are jealous of the fact that Wendy's brother, in fact, this little boy that this guy's putting pressure on, looks at Wendy's brother and decides that he is going to be his victim.
Mm.
You can tell by the way he looks at him because he's angry. He is upset. The Cavalier dude has a conversation with this girl. He's like about the brother. She's like, I want him to stay. He's good, and you get that this kid did not like his family. That he didn't get along with his brother, and he hated both his mother and his father. Now, who knows? They may be dead.
Right.
He may have had something unfortunate happen to them by the way he describes them. But you realize, okay, and he's like, I think brothers are overrated and unnecessary.
Mm.
So he doesn't like the idea. He doesn't like her brother being there any more than the other kids do. And the thing is, the brother's trying to make himself useful. He's sitting there with the kids, and because the kids are asking him questions about the world, and he's like, well, there used to be governments all over the planet, and people, a lot of places, people voted on what they want, for what they wanted. But there was a situation that came about where things got so bad, the corporations stepped in and took over. Does that sound familiar? Y'all
Mm-hmm.
listening to this? So he gives the kids a quick crash
Do,
course.
do you do you want me to truly comment on that last statement?
No, no. But he's and this kid that's being forced into this situation, he's like, my brother's not here. And he goes, they should be. You should all. And he's like, because he doesn't realize what's going on behind the scenes, but you can tell he's a decent guy. He's like, I wish all your families were here. And instead of funerals, we should have celebrations because you're alive. Because the people who thought they lost you, you're alive, you're here. And so he is trying to be a big brother to all these kids who have lost their family. You can see him trying to make himself useful in that regard. Um, but it's so funny because there are adults in the room who are outside of him are too busy on what they can get away with to think about the implications of what happens when something goes pear-shaped. And like myself, Centel in there was there grading who you wanted to see bad things happen to. It's like, oh, I hope the Cavalier kid gets implanted or the eyeball creature gets, because they had brought this poor sheep in, and the eyeball, the Oedipus or whatever the Oedipus, I think it was the Oedipus they called it, um, got this poor thing, and it was not pretty. It was wonderfully horrific. Um, but Gersh immediately says, "Oh, it's highly intelligent because he's moving, he's watching how this thing is watching, it's clocking him. It's studying him, it's studying everybody else in the room." He realized this thing is even more dangerous than a xenomorph, which for the most part acts on instinct. And if you've seen Prometheus, they were bred to be, they weren't bred to be friendly. They were given a certain amount of intelligence so that they could survive and adapt. But these things were bred to be killers. That's that's what the intention of the progenitors, when they created them, they were bred to be killers, to wipe out things. Um, this thing, I don't know where they found it, but you can tell it's thinking, it's calculating, it's working stuff out. It's like, oh, this is going to be ugly. And it doesn't, and Gersh does not yet realize you don't necessarily have to be organic for it to want to get you. The other things that they found are specifically respond to organic. There's a leech-like creature. I won't describe it because then you won't get the full horrificness of it.
Okay.
So this was in a horror series. You have to have those episodes where you realize how horrific the situation is without the monster being, where you see how it isn't just what we think the big bad is that we have to be afraid of or afraid for. And yeah, there's a lot more that went on, but it's not my job to give you the whole system because y'all ain't paying me for this. Jeez, get up and watch a damn thing. Um, but again, I really enjoyed it. It is, even knowing how it has to end if it's supposed to stay within, unless they're going to unless Ridley Scott gets up and says everything that happened to Ripley and all the stuff that is the games and stuff that is connected with that situation are no longer canon. Knowing how things happen, and then, she gets back to Earth 67 years later, and, her daughter is dead and everything, but there's no mention of the xenomorphs or any creatures like that. So it's like, okay, how this, no matter when they end it, and it's only 2 years prior to the Nostromo coming back to Earth, heading back towards Earth, and then they get redirected to LV-436. So I don't know unless they tell this story very slowly, which a lot of people may get frustrated with if you do it too much of a slow burn. I knowing how it ends right now, I still want to go on that journey. I know it's going to end. It's going to end in blood and tears, and probably if any of these kids survived, they're going to have to figure out how to bury themselves within humanity so folks don't find them and kill them, and destroy them, because they can be damaged. Wendy got damaged saving her brother. She got damaged again because she can hear these creatures, and she has now learned how to reproduce, and she charmed a baby xenomorph. Oh shit, that was the way it ended. I wasn't supposed to say that. Ah! Bad Joe. Bad. I'm blaming this on you because, I got to make somebody a fall guy. Bad Joe.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah. I will, I am definitely waiting for next week's episode. If you watch it on FX, it's on late on Tuesday. I watch it in broad daylight the next day. So if you want to do like it, if you have Disney Plus, you can pull it into Disney. Once you go into Hulu and find it, Disney Plus will put it, you can say, put it in my list, and Disney Plus will put it in your Disney Plus list. And you can watch it that way and not have to go to Hulu. So if you want to do a watch party where you have lunch next Wednesday, we can sit and watch it. Go, oh my God, did you see that? But you have to catch up on the other 4 episodes now.
Pretty much. And you gonna have a reason to be mad at me because the show that I'm about to get ready to talk about, guess where I watched it at?
Where?
It's a Hulu exclusive.
What? I don't keep up with everything Hulu's putting out right now.
Well, are you familiar with Fox Sunday Night? The more modern one
No.
with Animation Domination.
Oh, okay. What animated series are you watching? I mean,
They have did kind of like a fast forward on King of the Hill.
Oh, that's right. Somebody did mention that there was a King of the Hill reboot, but it was supposed to have been set so much time ahead of when the last original
Right.
series was up. I
So
hadn't thought much of it.
so I watched the whole season here.
Ugh.
And let me say this here. It kind of still have a little bit of its old charm about it, but
Oh,
at
when
the same
Beetle D was running it?
but at the same time it is completely different.
Okay.
And we still haven't seen 3 characters as of yet. 3 characters have not shown up as of yet.
The toots that would hang out with Hank in the alley?
No. They're there.
Okay.
They're there.
Bobby?
No, Bobby is there.
Okay. I was supposed to say Bobby's supposed to be like an adult in this one, right?
Bobby is in his 20s now.
Yeah, so he's an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But the three people that I'm talking about is Luann, Lucky, and Gracie.
Oh, okay.
They have not shown up as of yet. So pretty much from the first episode, they established this one thing, which I kind of find very, very weird with King of the Hill, considering how Hank is. So it starts out with Hank retiring. So he's coming back to the United States. And guess where he was at for at least a couple years? I bet you can never guess. Oh no, she has no sound. She lost sound. She can't hear. Yeah, you're well. I did not know that Luann's voice passed away. I did know that Lucky did. Lucky's voice passed away, and while they were doing these 2 seasons of the new King of the Hill, Dale passed away. So I did know that here. She has no mic now. I think she's saying that she can hear me, but she can't. She has no mic where we can hear her. It just went out all of a sudden on her side here. You can see her saying something, but we don't know what she's saying. So if I have to lip sync here, she's cussing out. She's cussing out Frankenstein for cutting out on her. So she's trying to figure out everything here. No, we cannot. Your mic is gone. There's no mic. We can't hear you. But anyway, getting back to what we're saying, Hank is coming back from Saudi Arabia for selling propane and propane accessories there. He was a part of this global consortium for propane, and he's finally coming back to the United States after being away for a couple of years, living over there in Saudi Arabia. And, he finally setting foot back into Texas. So he finally comes back to his old house and everything. Yeah, there's no sound or anything. So Elaine's figuring that out here. So at this point, he comes back to his old house. They introduce another character. I forgot what his first name, but his last name was Robinson. He was in charge of the house and everything. And, he was living there to keep the house in operating order while Hank was, Hank and Peggy was away in Saudi Arabia. So they finally come back. Hank is retired. And they're trying to readjust to living in the United States because while he was there, he was living high off the hog. He comes back and he's seeing that everything had changed and everything to that magnitude. He comes back, he finds that, Bill has been more of a recluse and everything, gained a whole bunch of weight and everything, wouldn't leave his bed and whatnot. Dale is pretty much still paranoid Dale, but it kind of alludes that eventually, let me see, she's coming back in.
I can hear. I don't know.
There we go.
Everything just went boop. StreamYard, I swear, whatever old lady is haunting you, you need to get rid of her because that's exhausting.
Yep. So, as I was saying, Hank had been over in Saudi Arabia for a few years. He's finally coming back. He finally retired. So he's trying to get used to retired life.
Being back home,
right?
Just standing in the alley full time with a beer.
Not really full time with a beer. It was just the simple fact that being so used to waking up in the morning and having a job to go to, it's frustrating him. It's frustrating him, and also kind of frustrating Peggy because of the simple fact that both of them are used to being active, and now they have all the time in the world to do whatever they want, and they just didn't know what to do with it here. So they did so many different episodes, really not focusing in on particular characters, but they focus in on the change of life since Bobby's graduating high school. It was a lot because remember, when the show ended, we never saw Bobby go to senior high school. He was still in junior high. So we had at least 3 years of high school that was missed, maybe a semester of college, because they kind of alluded that Connie was more in her sophomore year of college as opposed to freshman year.
Okay.
Because again, that's a whole nother story in within itself. But I'm going to eventually get to that here.
Well, Bobby's 22. Unless he's going for a master's, he's pretty much should be done with college by now.
Bobby is not in college. Bobby never went to college.
Ah, okay.
Bobby out of high school, and get this, out of high school, Bobby opens up a restaurant with Wasana-san. Chain's father, Ted, liked the idea that Bobby had as far as the cuisine and the fact that he was able to be the head chef and prepare this stuff, caught Chain's father, Ted's attention, and he funded the money to start this restaurant. So in lieu of being paid a salary, Ted gave him part ownership of the restaurant.
Are they successful?
So pretty much Bobby is working for himself at this point.
Yay, Bobby.
So you have to be mindful. So Bobby out of high school started his own business, and he has a growing restaurant as of right now. Shane, the person that he went into this business with, is in college. His father forced him to go through this business track for this one college and everything.
Okay.
Joseph is a construction worker. He got a job with the city and he works construction and
That kind of
everything.
tracks.
Hmm?
That kind of tracks.
Yeah.
I
So,
kind of
so
picture.
so Joseph and Bobby are roommates. They have their own apartment. They're actually living in Dallas, and they have they're roommates.
And they've stayed good friends. Yay.
They stay good friends and everything. So it was weird when Bobby finally met up with Connie because Chain goes to the college that is close by to where Bobby and Joseph lives at. He happened to bump into Connie, and Connie, is pretty much what she is.
Okay. I
Now, go ahead.
I had stopped watching the show for a while. My kids lost interest.
Mhm,
And at that point we only had one TV.
mhm.
So, I had to switch over to what they had their interest in at the time. And I just never got back to King of the Hill.
Okay.
So there's a lot that I have missed out on. I think the last episode or part of an episode that I watched um, was about Joe and his dad, his real dad.
Oh, you talk about what's his name? Oh shoot. Because that's the other thing here. Dale's wife and him, they're setting up that they are eventually going to get together.
Okay.
And it kind of works out because the voice actor who played Dale passed away as they were filming these two seasons of the reboot.
Okay.
So it is a good possibility that because the voice actor is dead, they might kill off the character, and then yeah, I can't even think of his name now. Well, Joseph's dad, and Dale's wife would get, John Redcorn. Thank you,
Yeah.
John Redcorn, because John Redcorn, for a person who has all that land and everything, he's been doing pretty well.
Oh, okay.
He's been doing pretty well. He got into the real estate game here. He now introduced this new food called John Redcorn's Red Corn. It's like a
Okay.
candy. It's like a candy corn type mixture that is kind of like a native dish that his tribe deals with here.
Oh, okay. So he's taken the tribal food and
Mhm.
sort of popularized it.
Yeah, so the part of things that tracked from the old series is now coming to fruition, because remember, he went from just being the so-called healer in quotation
Yeah.
mark to an actual entrepreneur, and his entrepreneurship is now taking off here.
Well, I'm glad to see that.
Mhm.
I actually kind of thought he was the cute character, but that's
That's
just
right too.
yeah.
There's no more John Redcorn either, I think.
And I think she was.
It's like they have replaced the voice actor for Dale because
They
they
had
had
storylines
storyline.
and shows.
Uh,
Okay.
but John Redcorn has a bigger stake in the series now, and it's like, what I was hoping, because as they was doing the series, they mentioned about how Dale's voice actor died, and they had dedicated a episode to him.
Okay.
So and usually Parallax is relatively right. If they did recast Dale, then uh, I'm not happy. Dale could have been a character that they could have killed off, and they could have did the whole thing about his
Well,
wife and John Redcorn finally getting together after all these different years.
yeah, but it's like what's his name? The black guy who died over a year ago. He did a lot of games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
and he was on Critical Role's Legend of Vox Machina. He played this dragon called Thordak,
Mm-hmm.
and they were in the middle of shooting the season when he died.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening is they had recorded enough, except for the final, I think the final episode, his character was supposed to be in alive.
Mm-hmm.
And they had gotten most of that, but they still had to have the death screen. Luckily, Mika Burton is really tight with Critical Role. She actually has guested on
Mm-hmm.
their second campaign. And Mika Burton, for those who don't know, is the daughter of LeVar Burton.
Mm-hmm.
The part where Thordak is giving out his death screen is LeVar Burton. They finagled his voice to blend it in, and it's very nicely done. But it was one of those things of they did not know this was going to happen, and it's like, oh my God, we're still getting these episodes done, and what and it was these two actors. LeVar had never met this guy. They knew of each other, they traveled some of the same circles, knew a lot of the same people, but had never met. And
Mm-hmm.
they had got to me, and this guy's wife went to them because they were like, we don't know what to do. And she went to them and said, why don't you ask LeVar Burton to do it? He can, you can modulate his voice. It kind of fits in. And they were like, you think so? And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And LeVar said, yeah. Mika said, Daddy, and she said, okay. And that was his way of honoring him. And I hate the fact that I can't. Courtney, who did the voice of Thordak? Lance Reddick. Thank you. My spare brain.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, cracking her head open and eating her brain won't help me. So that's why I let her keep it in her head.
I agree.
But and it's so funny that they had gone through their careers and never met.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only recently, prior to his death, that they had got to meet, and we're talking, had such a great time because they were talking about all the people that they knew in common and sharing and swapping stories and stuff. And so and they became very close. And so it was really something when his wife got up and Reddick's wife got up and said, see if LeVar can do it. Yeah. And it came at a point, especially for Critical Role, because that was around the same time they found out that Sam Riegel, one of their key members, had throat cancer. And they didn't know if he had to go in. He was going for treatment, and then he had to go in for surgery. And they were actually in the middle of a game. And so in order for him to go off and do his surgery and recovery, they killed his character. But this was right on the heels of Lance dying. And so that episode is really, for those of us who know the background story, it's really hard. And you can see people are like losing it and crying and stuff in the episode. It's very sad, but it's one of those things that get you right in the field. But, I didn't know how much stuff I'd seen that Reddick had been in. There I admired him. But yeah. But yeah, so it can be when an actor dies that, that way, and it happens unexpectedly and you're in the middle of shooting, it's like, well, dang, we can't just up and kill the character. We have to handle a transition. So maybe by the end of the season, yeah.
Yeah, like it was like Raul Julia when he did Street Fighter because his kids were like, it would be
This
cool.
would be so cool.
It's
yeah,
like
I loved him as M. Bison. It broke my heart though, because you could see that he really was not well. He had
yeah.
lost an incredible amount of weight. But he did this. It was also because the last film Chadwick Boseman did, you could see that change, that he had lost weight. But I think in regards to both these men, they also had to think of the amount of money they had to spend on these treatments, and the fact that they had wives and children they were leaving behind.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. I think neither of these men wanted to leave their families in debt. So they, even when they should have been taking it easy, they were working because they were trying to provide for their family.
It's still heartbreaking to even think about that interview. It's like, so are you looking forward to Black Panther 3? It's like, I won't be around for Black Panther 3. He came out straight up said it. I won't be around for it. And everybody's like, what do you mean by that? Then later on we found
We
out.
found out, but it was, it was such a heartbreak. And I will say, despite certain issues
Mm-hmm.
with the MCU, the fact that they have not put up a new T'Challa, that they gave us that. It was like, we get it
For now.
for now, but at least for now, they haven't done that. Feige has, at least up until now, stood by his word that there would be a new Black Panther, but it would not be T'Challa. And as a fan, as someone who, and I didn't know much about Boseman and a lot of his work until Black Panther, and then I started checking out. John and
Oh,
I
so you
watched
never saw
42.
52. 42, yeah, 42. All right.
John and I watched 42 a few months ago. John wanted to see it. He was curious. And so we sat and watched it together and talked about it during, because I guess somehow because he watches, like, there are videos on YouTube, people who did this, where are they now and whatnot. And somebody
Mm-hmm.
had mentioned there was an episode where they talked about Chad Boseman stuff, and he wanted to see it. And I don't know if I can ever be a fan of Alan Tudyk ever again, because he plays this character in Robinson's life who, he's another ball player. He's a white ball paper player, and he uses the N words. So he uses it. It's a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And Tiddick did his job a little too well, because, usually you can watch somebody and kind of separate them from the role, but this was so hard. And having to sit there with John and discuss why he was doing this, and then have John go, do you think the actor was sad that he had to keep saying that word? And I hadn't, and it hadn't occurred to me. It's like, it was a job. And, there's that part of me was like, he could have said no.
Mm-hmm.
He could have said no. And, there's that part of me that still hurts that. It's like, I don't know, maybe it may have hurt him to have to keep saying it that way. Maybe the way they put, and it could be maybe the way they originally put it in the script, and then the way the director insisted. It could have been two different things, because sometimes you can get a script and then the director will make decisions. I just heard, what's his name from the Mummy films?
What do you mean? You talking about Brendan Fraser?
Brendan Fraser, I saw a clip. He was at Comic-Con, one of the Comic-Cons, and he was talking about sometimes things happen that you don't plan for. And they were shooting the scene where he said, I don't know, just as a goof, I just acted like I was sticking my finger in the mummy's eyes and pulling his eyes out. It was like, it was a take. I was just being stupid. And they called cut. He goes, and I'm standing here and behind the cameras. And the light, because of the way the lights are, you can't see that far back. All you're seeing is the lights. You don't necessarily see the guy behind. You might see the guy behind the camera, but you're not seeing too much more than that. And he said, all I could hear him was going, you think we can do it? I don't know. Well, we have the technology, maybe. I don't know. You think we should buy it? We got enough. We have enough money. Oh, okay, fine. And he's like, I can hear you, But that one goof he did then ended up being a big joke in the movie, because there's the part where he's fighting he's fighting the mummies, and he sticks his finger in the in the eye and stuff. He was saying, yeah, something I had just did as a stupid and thinking, oh, when the guy called Cuddy goes, I'm gonna have to shoot that again because I was being silly and ad libbing and I shouldn't have done it. And he thought, oh, he's gonna really ream me good. And then
And they were like, "That was kind of cool. Can we work with that?"
yeah, and he says, and it's one of the big joke. It's one of the big laughs in the film.
Mhm.
So he was, he was explaining, you never know, and he goes, and this was, he said, if you look at CGI today as opposed to CGI then,
Mhm.
and goes, and he said, and it took so much money to get that shot. He was seriously concerned because it was like, oh my goodness, this little stupid joke could sink this movie. And he said it wasn't until the movie got in front of people and people reacted to it that he was able to like go, because
Mhm.
it's like, oh my God, what if I killed this movie? Not knowing that that was going to be a turning point for him was
Right.
that movie. But yeah, he was, he says, you never know when something can happen. You do something or someone comes up with an idea. You just kind of have to learn. Yeah, and I will admit the
That that
Scorpion
that
King
that
films
that is,
are
that
not
is
great.
true. That part is true because now you
Yeah,
make.
it was, and I get it for the actor.
Mhm.
I get it. Because the thing is, and I actually, I don't know if you saw the post I did earlier about being careful about when people approach you. Because I had somebody on stage 32 try to do the let me sprinkle stardust in your eyes while blowing smoke up your butt.
Mhm.
I was nice, YouTube. Don't whack us. Um, he's like, hi, yeah, and I know all these. I know managers and producers and production companies, blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking, yeah, and if I was like 40 years younger, I might be impressed. But you haven't named a single movie that you've worked on. You haven't named a single company that you've worked with. If you've got connections with all these, name somebody.
Mhm.
If you've worked with somebody. And I realized he did it because he obviously knew that a lot of writers, when you approach them on sites like Stage 32, they go to IMDb. I had a guy approach me. He was talking about he wanted to buy my script, and he was like, yeah, I've worked with the guy who did Highlander, the series. And really, and I went to IMDb because he was listing himself as a producer on this project, and he is listed on the project, but not as in part of the production team. And he was like, yeah, I was in this scene with him. And I watched that episode. He gets kicked down a flight of stairs and then he disappears. It's like, no, you got your ass kicked down a flight of stairs. Yeah, it came out, come at me. Um, that does not make you, that doesn't make you him. And
Mhm.
that doesn't make you all that badass. Thank you, but no. And this guy, like I said, he was talking all this stuff, and I just said, you approach me, and you didn't say Lane, you said screenwriter.
Mhm.
Then, if you were really interested in what I have, my stage 32 profile, the enslaved, what the screenplay versions of the enslaved and the coming of nighttime and of Sound and Fury are there with their log lines.
Mhm.
Any producer or whatnot who's interested, you can see the log lines and then you can pull up a PDF of the script and read it. He didn't name a single script. Obviously, he hadn't read anything. He was approaching me, and I realized, okay, I know what this is. He wants me to pay him a reading fee because there is a there's this thing in Hollywood now where people who will call themselves producers
Mhm.
or managers will require you to pay them a reading fee, and we're not talking $40. We're talking several $100s
Right.
as a reading fee. And then if they like your script, they'll, connect you with people. And it's like, okay, I've already done this where I paid somebody a $200 reading fee, and his assistant was like, "Oh, this is a great script. He's going to love it. Oh my god, we're going to do so much with this." And then when I sat down and had the call, "I hate your script. Why did you waste my time?" It's like, it's like, and it was one of those things. Okay, thank you for your time and whatnot, and I hung up. And they the assistant gave me my money back, but because it was like, you know what, I'm going to let other people on LinkedIn know what he's doing, because
Mhm.
this is ridiculous. Because here's this game where you build everybody up and he tears them down,
Mhm.
and it doesn't matter because either way, the poor idiot is out $200 or more. And it's like, and this was a legit guy. He owned the company, the Bubble Factory. He's had a few movies and stuff behind him, no huge hits, but he's had a solid enough run, and yet he had got to this point where he had decided to scam writers. And I was thinking, and it was either him or somebody pretending to be him, because there are a lot of people who will show up and say, "Oh, I'm so and so," and you have to go, "Oh wait, I went to IMD." I had one guy do that, tell me he was so and so, and I went and the picture that he sent me and the picture I found at IMDb,
We're different.
oh, vastly. The guy in the picture had to be about 60 years old, and the picture he sent me was some guy in his 30s. It's like, okay, you are not that same guy. I'm sorry. This guy is 60 and he's blonde, and like this guy's 30 and he's bald. Obviously. But for some reason, there are people who, because they figure if they can say the right thing, and they know they're not going to get everybody, but they can get it. I had a friend talk me into taking on an agent in Canada who was charging me a fee every month. And I had to talk to another friend, and they were like, "Sweetie, they shouldn't be charging her fee. She's not even getting you jobs. Why are you paying her?" And it was like, "You're right. I'm not." Because in America, and I'm finding out that's changing. Agents can now charge fees. It used to be they didn't. Agents couldn't charge you fees
Until after you have a
until you
actual
sold the
job.
script, and because it was the incentive to
Mhm.
get you work. You know, um, and because an agent could, I heard one agent say, "Well, there's the copies." It's like, I can go, and at that time you could go to Kinko's and copy a 90 to 120 page script for about like $20.
Right.
So it's like, what, you want me to send you $20 for the script? What are you doing? You want me to pay you $200 because you copied? It's like, I got it. At that point, I had an old dot matrix. It was a high quality dot matrix printer. So it's like,
Mhm.
I'll just print out the page. I'll just print it out for you. I'm gonna save you the money. I'm gonna go to Kinko's and buy, a 500 sheet pack of paper, and I'll print you some copies and drop them off at your office. I'm not paying you like $200 for something I can do myself. But now, yeah, they're calling them administrative fees or whatnot, and so a lot of otherwise legitimate agencies are beginning to charge people before they've even gotten them a job. And it used to be because you have to. It used to be because depending on how much you're making, you pay your agent or whatnot 10 to 15%. That tended to cover it. But now I don't know what the deal is. Everybody, it's gotten, the industry has gotten very transactional, especially if you're trying to get in. Once you've proven yourself to, they overlook certain fees, but that's because, they're also, some of them are scared because, managers are now doing what agents traditionally did. which is set up meetings, get people to read your stuff, set up meetings, make deals and stuff for you. Managers are now doing that. And the difference between managers, and I've never wanted to work with a manager because for those of you who don't know, a manager, unlike an agent, um, agents are usually licensed by whatever state they're working with. They've also signed agreements with the Writers Guild. Managers have not done so. Managers can charge you fees, and managers they can own a percentage of a production. So a manager can say, get your script sold, and then make a separate deal where they become part of the production team. So they're getting a portion of the money you make, plus they're making money off the it's like, no, agents can't do that. And it's very, to me, it feels very shady with managers because they can get in and start owning pieces of the production.
The whole double dipping aspect.
Yeah, managers can do that. Agents are not, and managers don't have to be guild signatories and stuff like that. And why, it's it people, and for those of you who wonder, when you look at so and so just made $25 million, no, he didn't. the The money is 25 million, but usually Hollywood doesn't pay unless you're Tom Cruise or a very specific number of men. You're not going to get that money all up front anyway. You'll get so much up front, and then you'll get so much as you go on down the line in the production. But every time that person gets paid, no matter how much of that money he gets paid, it isn't just his. First thing he has to do is taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Then he has to pay his agent. The agent gets a nice chunk. Then if you have a manager, the manager is getting a chunk. Then how many staff people do you have? Do you have an assistant? Do you have a hairdresser? Guess what? All of those people have to get paid.
That's the thing that they don't tell people. That's all on your dime. That's not on the production staff dime. That's your dime. If you want a particular hairdresser, if you want a particular makeup artist, you want a particular, all that's on your dime. You're paying
and also, unless you get to have it put in the script, if you've got a good enough manager or agent where they can put a writer in, so that, because Schwarzenegger used to do that when he went and shot Predator. He put it in, he had a writer put in that he could have his own chef. So there is the production cook, and then he had his own chef, and his chef washed all his fruits and vegetables, did extra washing of his fruits and vegetables. So when they went to South America and everybody else got sick, Schwarzenegger was the only one who didn't get sick. Because he had his own chef taking all these precautions. And he had it put in that, they would pay so much of
that. That's a messed up joke.
Yeah, I was trying not to say anything. But
the
yes.
man still actually made $74 trillion.
No. It didn't
No,
make
she
$74
being
trillion.
sarcastic right now. Yeah, if I had a movie deal, I'm like, I need Joe here. That's what I need.
Unless it's and it's for women especially. Unless you can get up and say that you can say, I've done this many movies and they've banked this much money.
Mm-hmm.
So even for men, it's how much have you banked? And when they ask how much have you banked, it's like how much, because you have to know, as well as everybody in your representation, your lawyers, your agent, your manager, they have to know how much money you've accumulated in regards to banking, which is how much money has the stuff that you've done earned. Not as much as they used to. Their sexual potency within the industry has been looked at as diminished. So what they used to be able to demand and what they can demand now are two different things. With women, it's based on what, and it doesn't matter if the crowds will, if the audience will still come and see you in that role or whatnot. It's who's sitting across from the table. And so if this 20 something kid doesn't want to bang you for whatever mental bugaboo he's got, you know, he's gonna, unless you're gonna have to get up and say, my movie, I've done this in movies, and they've accumulated this much money. Because otherwise, somebody who looks at you as being over 40, Carrie Moss found that out when she hit 40. Suddenly the roles that she was getting, people were asking, she actually got offered the role of somebody's grandmother, and she's like, I'm 40 years old. For me to be grandmother of the character in this movie, I would have had to have the baby at 5. You know, my child would have had to have the baby. You know?
Well, I'm just thinking about Meryl Streep because of the simple fact that they're doing a second The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, because but it's also because she's now, it's not a romantic lead. Yes, she's a married woman, she has kids, but she's not, in other words, the story is not her being romance, which was why when the Mamma Mia movies were such a hit, it was, people were, those of us who've been fans of Streep and those guys went, of course it's going to be a hit. But to the children in Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, people actually want to see old folks again. It's like 80 for Brady. They were like, oh, nobody's going to want to see those old chicks. You're like, excuse us? Hello? Shut up and take my money.
But
You know,
I bring the Devil Wears Prada up for a different reason, because if I remember correctly, towards the tail end, she got a divorce towards the tail end of that movie.
no,
And
I don't think she got
it puts her
divorced.
back kind of like in that role of being the older lady that could still be desirable based upon her power position and possibly her looks, because she didn't look bad for
No, she
the
looked
age that she was playing
exceptional.
in that movie.
But if they do put it, what they will probably do is they'll make her a sexual predator. In other words,
She'll
it
be a
won't
cougar.
be but it'll be the worst type of cougar. It'll be because
I don't know.
I have this money, I have this position, I have this power. You can't say no if you want to keep this job, if you want to get this thing done.
See,
They could paint her in, when you think about the character she played, they could easily paint her in the worst light imaginable in that
well,
regard.
that's the thing about the character. The character was a lot deeper than that, because you could say that initially, with her, with her and I can't even think of her name now, because that's what the way that she came
It's
off to her in the very beginning, but it was more in depth. She was literally grooming her to
I
be
didn't see
able.
it as grooming her. I saw it as she was a tremendous pain in the ass
She was a
because to
pain in
get
the ass
up and
for a reason.
when she calls her, well, I'll hire the fat girl. It's like that's where I would have gotten up and said, "Bitch, eat my fist." Okay, let me show you some fat. It was, there was just this whole dismissiveness about her character. I had to sit and fight my way through that movie because I really hated her character. I thought I hated Cruella de Vil. I just hated that character. It was like if I had to work for this woman, I'd be in a jail cell because I would have skinned her alive. I would just not. There is just, she had nothing to, in my opinion. And I'm someone who grew up reading Vogue, and I get it. She's supposed to be Anna Wintour. She's supposed to be some version of Anna Wintour. I've read Vogue and Elle and Vanity Fair and all those things. But the idea of it's like I would be sitting there going, you know what, this is not worth my sanity. It isn't worth, and maybe because I view things differently as a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And when this came out, I think I was in my 40s, 30, yeah, my 40s hitting 50s. It's more like, no, I'm sorry. There's nothing going on here that is so worth the world. And I get it. And what it pointed out is that here is this insular world where you think the rest of the world revolves around you. Except you don't get that no one outside of your particular little group really cares about cerulean blue. To the They don't give it the level of importance that, if it's not cerulean blue, it's like, yeah, outside out there on the street, no one cares. You know, honestly, no one cares.
It- well, I guess that's where we different in feel different in this movie because I see that, but I also saw within Meryl Streep character there was still humanity in her,
I
and
didn't
that
see
was
it.
the whole thing because she eventually let her guard down and she got exposed. She got exposed in such a way that old girl could have ended her, ended
Well,
everything.
she was already. I mean, there were
But she
people.
was on her way out the door
She was
regardless.
already. They were already planning to put the knife in, and girlfriend went and warned her
Mm-hmm.
about it. And my attitude would have been like, "I hope you enjoy the plunge." I'd have left it. I am not that kind. I would have just said, watching, having been under someone like that, and then watching them tear people apart to the point where people, even who are being decent, are kind of, after it kind of infects the whole group. It been like, enjoy the knife when it enters, babe. I think that's probably the last good screw you're gonna get. And it just walked and let it happen.
but, but that's what makes the movies to me so brilliant because of the simple fact that it really wasn't like you said the whole attitude of the whole if I could say magazine was corrupted. She was getting it from all sides. She had it took her a whole movie to learn that there was nobody that was truly her friend.
I think she knew that beginning because I've read up on Winter
Mm-hmm.
and the atmosphere she's created and the atmosphere. These women, because when she walks in to look at the designer stuff, you can tell he's afraid of her. He's the designer. If he or other designers aren't putting stuff out there, they don't have content. Okay? But she walks in there like she runs the show. And these people are so afraid of her. She knows it. The whole thing about her daughters. And she's raising the next generation because what does she? Well, they want to read the next Harry Potter. The next Harry Potter's not out yet. Well, you better find it for me. So luckily for her, she had connection with somebody who had connections who was able to get her copies. But the fact of, I don't care if the rest of the world has to wait until this. It's like, I'm sorry, our wars started and ended in your name. It's like in the vast importance of it. No, you know, you're a cog in the wheel. Because as much as you want to say you are the doyenne of fashion, the fact of the matter is, if these guys decided that they could do this without you, where would you be? Where would your magazine be? There are other magazines out there. You may have built this brand, but it's not the only one out there. And when you have this attitude of, it revolves around me, the world. You know, it's like in, as I was saying, in Alien Earth, this kid, Cavalier of the brother, says, it's my planet. He just lives on it. And it's like, you get your comeuppance. I want to see that. I
That
want when something goes in or comes out of you, I don't want it to happen in 5 seconds. I want you to suffer. I want to hear you cry and moan. I want you to just feel that pain. And I just, there's that point where we're suffering from that now. Too many people want to feel like the world revolves around them, and it doesn't.
see,
And their little egos won't let them accept the fact that that the rest of us matter too. Just because you have money in this job doesn't mean you run the world.
that's what makes the ending so important to me, because you got to see the other side. That ego bubble was burst
Not
big
really.
time when she saw what was on that other side. It was almost like that. It's almost like Wizard of Oz. It's like, don't look at the man behind the curtain.
For about
What's that?
5.5 seconds, she had to face the possibility that she might not have her job and someone else might be moved into position, and within, 3 to 6 months. Because in that world, when you've had this position and they take you off of it, because she's not the publisher. She's just the editor in chief. She is not the publisher. She does not own the company that publishes that magazine. So when that person says, oh, well, you know what? I had sex with her and she has a new trick that you know nothing about. All everybody in fantasy is going to do, the queen is dead, long live the queen. That's it. Once she's gone, she's gone. If she gets into another fashion show, she's sitting in the back because she is no longer the queen. Okay? She's so, it's like it can like change like that. And instead of being humble and understanding, there's always a bigger, badder dog out there
But
that you
that
have
was
to
the point of the
answer to.
ending. That was the point of the ending.
No, because
She
she was
got
still her
humbled
at
at
the
the
end.
end.
She wasn't humble. Wow, she saw girlfriend on the street, and so instead of insulting her, she's like, oh, okay, and went her way. She didn't come across to talk to her. Did she come over and say, hey, how you doing? Thanks for something. No, she just
No,
gave her,
she didn't
she
do that.
acknowledged her with a half-second nod and then went on her damn happy way. I'm
Yeah,
like,
she went on her happy way, but what happened afterwards? She got that notification via phone. It's like, you can have your old job back. If and she said no.
I would have rather have eaten broken glass.
Yep.
And I would have sent her that. No, this is thank you, but you know what? I got this job. I'm gonna write all about your skanky ass, and have a good one.
Let's see. It's like, yep. It's like, I'm making coffee. Who wants coffee and soda crackers? But seriously, that movie really spoke
I
volumes
will agree to disagree with you.
that fall from ego, because she was about to fall hard.
Yes, but she didn't. It never happened. She got to keep her job. She got to stay on top. I would have
But
rather
at the
seen
cost of
her.
what? But at the cost of what? Losing the person that allowed her to keep the job. The one person that she belittled and
Oh,
drugged through
she
the mud.
belittled everybody. But they all
Not
they
to
all
that
wanted to
degree.
be in that orbit. They all wanted to be in her orbit because that made, in that little world, it made them important. Oh, you work for her. You do this for her. Suddenly, by association, they have value. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You see it in the entertainment industry. Anybody who's ever gone to an event, oh well, I work for so and so. They're not going to tell you I'm just a schmo who fetches coffee on for them on the set. But it's like, yeah, I work with them closely every day. It's like you fetch coffee on the set. That's not working with them. You're just
But this movie showed that that same peon was able to see behind the curtain long enough to know it ain't for me.
yeah, because she realized that level of obsession will make you crazy. It will make you crazy. And for the life she was living, yeah, fine, she gained a sense of fashion. But the thing is she wasn't that unfashionable when she started. She just wasn't Vogue fashionable. She wasn't a clacker, which is what
Actually, she wasn't a yes man. That's what it
she
really
wasn't a
boiled
yes
back.
man, and she wasn't a clacker, which is what when she goes in when she's made the transition into the lovely new outfit, and she goes in. I think it's the doorman and says, "Oh, I thought you were different from all the clackers." And he's saying, "Yeah, we call them clackers because that's the noise their heels make as
Okay.
they come across the floor." I used to show up for when I worked as a temp. I would show up in flats, and I'd wait till I got where they wanted me to work, pull out my shoes, pull out my heels, put my heels, go in the bathroom, put on my heels, do my lipstick and whatnot, come out, be ready to go. But between getting on the bus and getting to whatever, I was not going to die. You know, I was not going to die. I was going to wear my flats or my low heeled shoes because I had to stomp down streets to get to where I needed to be. And I didn't want to get there bathing in sweat.
Now, I will say this one other thing before we close the door on the Devil Wear Prada. I do
Okay.
not feel sorry for the boyfriend at all. I don't. And it's like, what makes you think that old girl from where you was at from back in the day, in the hood that you grew up with, now she's in high fashion. What makes you think that that high fashion lifestyle is not going to change her mind and change her attitude about a lot of different things here? Bruh, you going to either have to adjust and change to move along or understand what she's going through because she's going to be going through a lot of changes. It's a craziness. She's
It's the
not going to be
insanity
that wholesome girl that you know from back in the day. She's going to change on you.
because that atmosphere, it's like filmmaking. If you I walked into I was on the set at Disney. We were meeting with Dan Petrie Sr. and he had another meeting. He was like, go ahead and go around the set, go around the studio. Just don't walk into where they're shooting. And who are those guys? They did were they Simpson Bruckheimer. I
Mhm.
walked into their office. That was the first time I ever just walked into an office and suddenly felt as if I was going to throw up. The level of tension just in the reception area it was palpable. And it physically made me nauseous, you know. And I walked in, and the receptionist looked at me and said, and went, what? And it's like, no, that's okay. I'm going out. And I was a Simpson Bruckheimer fan at the time. They made some of the best action movies out there.
Mhm.
But the level of tension and the level of insanity was such that and when you're working under someone who is demanding and sarcastic and abusive, yeah, they put out great content, but they drove everybody crazy doing it. You know, people there were people who, if you there were certain companies where if you actually worked a year, they threw you a party. Not because it was your birthday, but that you hadn't killed yourself or, decided to open fire on the rest of the office. Because the atmosphere was so toxic. Um, and I just but it kind of like if this, I would rather not have to work at this level if that's who you have to be. But then, you have guys like Benicio, you have guys like Del Toro who are lovely. I can't wait to see his Frankenstein. I'm interested to see his take. I saw the guy, Leia, if you can, find the interview Oscar Isaac and this guy did for Frankenstein. This boy is good. He is tall. A nice big drink of water don't come close. And he dwarfs Oscar Isaac, who isn't like a little bitty guy, but he dwarfs him. And they're sitting down. They are sitting down and he dwarfs him. And I was like, oh, okay. I want to chew on your earlobe. But but they were talking about what it's like to work with Del Toro.
She's working on it.
They were talking about what it's like to work with Del Toro, and it's a different working with him. It's a different atmosphere, and some people have that atmosphere, but it's only for that chosen few. Spielberg is really good with his actors and his cinematographer and maybe the key people on his staff that he has to deal with. But beyond that, he's kind of like, great, fine, thank you. Why are you breathing? I've met a lot of people like that. It's like, oh, are you important? No, then why are you breathing in my airspace? Like they actually expect you to and then run away. It's like, please.
But
isn't he cute? Isn't he cute? Dishy accent. And I believe they read the I think they actually read the book. I know Oscar Isaac does prepare for things like that. So I think those guys actually read the book. It'll be interesting to see. I'm hoping they go kind of like the way that Penny Dreadful did. That is my favorite version of the creature, is as portrayed in Penny Dreadful. Yeah, that's him. That's him. He's cute. Look at him. He's so big. You just want to. He's adorable. But yeah, I'm looking. Jared Belordi. I'm looking forward to this. This I think is going to be. It looks like it's Del Toro, so it's going to be fun. Sorry, I almost broke the internet. It's also after 9:00 and I haven't eaten yet. I had a couple of pickle slices earlier today. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we hear you. You just up here like, oh, look at him. I'm going like, meh. I'm just trying to learn something.
I'm interested to hear their take on the story.
And then
I am
commercial.
Enter a world of adventure.
Yeah, too many commercials. Don't stop somebody in mid-sentence.
2 years later, I was on set. I was shooting something in Australia. I got a call to check my emails, and so I had to wait till I got home, and then went on my email. They were like,
you can watch this later, Joe. It's 10 minutes.
Something which was like an hour away. It was a big script, and I can't read. So,
it's a big script that I can't read.
That if it's a huge script like that, that means Guillermo sat down with Shelley's book.
Mm-hmm.
Because that book is, people forget, that book is friggin', that's a lot of book. It is a lot of book because it's not just, oh, he got up and he created the creature and the creature went crazy the end. Mm-hmm.
No,
it's a lot.
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is like half of War and Peace.
Yeah, it is a very
about like half of it, literally half.
That's why more people have seen the movies than have ever read the book.
But that's the reason why the creature was more complex than what people realize. Yeah,
but and it was interesting because one of the few productions that went into that besides Penny Dreadful was Mr. Magoo's Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. They actually, you could tell they actually, even though they only had so much time, they wanted to show the creature's intelligence. And And as a child, I just went, oh. And I think I read Frankenstein. I was 13 when I read Frankenstein. So yeah, I read a lot of weird shit when I was a kid.
But that's the cool thing about interpretations of her of that particular character,
Yeah.
because the creature was highly intelligent and highly peaceful. It took a lot to really get upset, but he was more protective of people who he thought really enjoyed his company. He was overprotective in that aspect. If you did something to somebody that he liked,
Oh, you were in
I feel
trouble.
sorry for you. That's
That's
the way that I read the book and his characterization.
I loved his characterization in Penny Dreadful because yes, in the beginning when we first meet him, he's angry, he's vengeful, but you learn over time he's been out in the world, it has not been kind to him. And he has learned to return cruelty with cruelty. But then as that series progresses, his character arc is just that he could mourn a poet at the end of that series. You know, that his heart, you could see the loss of this that he had, and I love it because it's the guy who plays the creature that is reciting that poetry. And I just thought, and he does such a beautiful job of it. In fact, I had Tennyson, because I had read Jerusalem, um, because I was a Emerson Lake and Palmer fan, and they did a version of Jerusalem. And I didn't know, and my aunt said, "Oh, well, they didn't write those words. That's a." And then I saw Monty Python. It's like they're singing the Emerson Lake and Palmer song. And I had to find out that no, that song was before those guys. They just did a rock and roll, gothic rock and roll version of it, and, But but the fact that he's quoting Tennyson at the end, I just fell in love with that character. He was, I thought that was the most beautiful portrayal I had seen of the creature on film.
Well, we're about to
I
be
should,
2 hours 30 minutes in, so it's almost dinner time for you. It's almost 9:30.
yeah. Luckily, hopefully, there is some pasta salad left for me. I made dinner earlier today, so I made a big old pot of pasta salad. So hopefully, there's some left. If not, I'm gonna finish that jar of pickles and then start in the.
So no fillet of Courtney for you.
Courtney, can I chew your leg? No. They heard you. Hey, Charles, can I come chew your leg? Cannibalism is so discouraged in my household.
You want to know what all those notes remind me of? It reminds me of the of Son Spin Ghoulie. Every time they mention Berwin, no.
My youngest loved that show. Kerwin is his favorite character. He loves Kerwin.
I forgot who that one was.
Kerwin is the zombie rubber chicken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now they have the Sven crew and they don't have Kerwin on there.
So I'm trying to think who was the skeleton.
He used to have a mustache and smoke a cigar.
Right.
When Jerry G. Bishop and them were doing it, and I can't remember the name, but yeah, he used to be a floating head.
Mm-hmm.
When he first started on the show, it was just a floating head that they would put in, and he would tell crappy. They started giving him his own joke time, and he would tell these crappy one-liners like the old Vegas comic.
But by the time Rich Coles got there, he was a full skeleton that had like a tuxedo or something like that.
Yeah, they have a tuxedo and stuff. But yeah, John loves Kerwin. He thinks Kerwin. I gotta find him. I gotta see if I can order a Kerwin doll from them for him, because he really loves current. I make it myself. I got good barbecue. One of our viewers is like offering me barbecue sauce to go with your leg. Now she's like I'm gonna just sit here. I'm gonna just sit here at this laptop and act like you don't exist.
Well, it's time for us to say goodbye here. For you can eat pasta salad here.
So long, farewell. Our feet is saying goodbye.
What was each one said something else after that before they left the stage.
The sun has gone to bed and so must I.
And then they repeat it again. And when the next one get, they say something different. It was a cute little song before they made their escape.
So good night to you and your because he does it with the accent and I'm not German. Thank you for indulging us.
It's like good gray honey with a dash of good hot sauce.
Ooh.
It isn't fire hot.
Hey, go to Aldi. They just brought out a hot honey mac and cheese. So if you're into that, there's a hot honey mac and cheese they're now selling at Aldi. It's only for a couple of bucks. It's a box. You make it. It's a mix. Anyway, thank you for sitting here with us and enduring whatever it's turned into. Because Lord knows.
Wait, how do you know what an Aldi is if it's not in your city? But then again, how do I know that? How do I know about whatchamacallit since there's none in Chicago either?
Cracker Barrel ain't here, but I know what Cracker Barrel is. Okay, so
yeah, but Cracker Barrel. But again, if you do traveling, you can't. There's certain things if you do traveling. Waffle House, you know about. Cracker Barrel, you know about. Bob Evans, you know about. If you travel enough.
Well, you can get Bob Evans sausage here.
No, I'm talking about the restaurant, not the.
Okay. I only know the sausage, so.
No, there's Bob Evans restaurants too,
Okay, never been there.
Oh, but that reminds me. That reminds me. They're about to come back to Chicagoland soon too. Jack in the Box.
Oh, okay.
But it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same.
Rodney Allen Rippey isn't around anymore, so there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the what used to be this is now like this, if anything. So there's that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we get so off target. I would if I had to go against the Death Star, they would have lost. I'm sorry, the rebels would have lost because screaming at me, stay. It's like yeah, but anyway, thank you.
No, you would have been like Yoda would have talked to you. That's like there's no try, is do or don't or don't do. That's like well, what about this? I'm done. You would have walked off.
Get out of my head, damn Jedi. Anyway,
I'm done.
Y'all. Thank you. We love you. We are grateful that you're here. Really, there's no show without you. Whether you're here with us live or you just, you drink back a fifth of Daniels and you don't know what else to do with your evening. Thank you. You have a good one. Come back and see us next week. Glyph will be with us, so there'll be sanity. At least a little bit, okay? Y'all behave yourselves, and I'll see you next time I'm here. Bye. Hold on.
No, I got to do this here because I'm about to comment about this here. Yeah, you have to subscribe because, again, I could paraphrase. I don't have to be exact. The point was made. It's do or don't. There is no try. And Elaine would still say, I'm done and left. Either way, paraphrasing or not, it's still the exact same thing here. See, you missed when Green Lantern was on because it's not nope. It's no. That's what we say here in Chicago. No. You talk to a woman, they lay it all day, every day. You're starving. But anyway, this episode of Comic Book Spectrum has been brought to you by Plasma Fire Graphics. So if you need that awesome cover for your next novel, graphic novel, comic book, or whatever literary creation that you have, give Jeffrey Hayes a little bit of a jingle here, because why? You want that experience. You want that award-winning artist to bring the best out of your book and people to your booth to buy the book, or to have it nicely displayed on a screen where people will be like, I want to know more about that book. If you don't believe me, take a gander at this video.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
And there you have it. You've seen what's in that video. He could do the exact same thing for you. So give Jeffrey Hayes a little bit of a message on plasmafiregraphics.com, or hit him up on his Facebook group for Plasma Fire Graphics. As far as I'm concerned, I will be here on Saturday. I don't know about you, but I will be here Saturday at 9 p.m. And we'll go over a little bit of the stuff that's been going on, especially talking about the changes with the laptop and everything, the stuff that I had to go through for the umpteenth time again. But that's all going to be talked about in accountability and where things are at as far as getting more of the comic books and stuff done. There's going to be a few things comic book related we'll probably end up talking about too, but stay tuned. I might end up posting what the topic is here within the next day or so. So until then, live life, grow, and be well. And we're out of here. And unlike the founder of Comic Book Spectrum, Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. See you next week right here on Comic Book Spectrum. Bye.